morning we're going to have a conversation about decentralized AI. I haven't really seen much spoken about decentralized AI at the Polkadot event the last couple of days, yesterday and today. I think there was a panel earlier, but I'm going to speak really lucidly and clearly about some of the very concrete use cases that we're seeing in amongst all of the noise. If you kind of get wrapped up in the noise, you'll find there's a lot of hype, not much substance, a lot of promise, not much substance. We're all very used to this in Web3 at this point in time. And we're going to get into the nitty-gritty and see like what ecosystems are being built, specifically using Substrate and the Polkadot SDK. And that specifically being Bittensor, which I'm really, really excited about. If you are aware of what's happening in Bittensor, it's an amazing ecosystem. We're going to do some fundamentals, look at what's working, and then explore how at Massa we're leveraging this ecosystem of programmable incentives. But really quickly, I'm the co-founder, CTO of Massa. Been in the blockchain space since 2013. Have been building in decentralized distributed data for the last like 8 to 10 years, and I'm on the technical side of the founding team. So as we kind of touched upon, Bittensor uses Substrate to drive today a multi-billion-dollar AI economy. That's today in its sort of third 3.5 years of operation or life cycle. And in my mind, this is going to become the next Ethereum, the next Bitcoin, bigger than what Polkadot might be today to really drive forward the growth of AI, specifically in the DE/AI kind of space. Just to touch on a couple of things, fundamental building blocks of decentralized AI. In my mind, there are 3 key pillars that we must have to even remotely be able to compete or be in the same arena with Web 2 AI. It's already difficult enough building in Web 3, and today we have Web 2 moving at lightning speed in the AI space, faster than anything any of us have ever seen in our entire lives, and we'll see probably for the rest of our lives. So these are the key components we must have as building blocks in order to be able to compete and build an alternate decentralized AI paradigm. Number 1, obviously compute in the Bittensor ecosystem. Subnet 19 is a good example of this. You can currently today go and use a free version of Llama 3.1 delivered through Subnet 19. You've then got data. This could be like public, web data, gated data, Twitter, personal. Think of like Apple with what they're doing on device for personalized AI. Think of scale AI when you're training things like Llama 3.1, when you're dealing with like OpenAI, a huge monolithic company that goes out, scrapes and acquires data, structures it, and then feeds it into these massive AI workflows for training. And then we've got models and inference. Honestly, everything outside of that is just a usability layer, tooling. This is what really, really matters. And how this applies and builds on top of Bittensor, we have this incredible incentive-based competition. Something weird's happening with my slides here with formatting, that consists of 3 components. You have the incentive mechanism of programmable incentives. This drives almost, I would say, like a self-organizing, self-improving model on top of Bittensor that uses the economic design for subnets through the Bittensor API, and then the blockchain, which is Subtensor. This is the area that's built using Substrate and the Polkadot SDK to build individual subnets, of which today there is 54 slots, I think. There was 42. It was increased last week. And this is the anatomy of a subnet. You can think of each subnet as a domain that is specific for building a particular machine learning or AI use case. In those subnets, there are miners, which you can think of neurons. They take this sort of metaphor of a human brain with miners and axons between these sort of nodes to build up this sort of self-improving competitive ecosystem. And it's really incredible. The way in which you can build and leverage value of a crowd or of a community in the Bittensor ecosystem is like nothing I've ever seen. The way that you can build incentive mechanisms for miners and then govern this with validators is amazing. So at the top here, you have subnet miners. These are individuals that are incentivized to provide a commodity or a service. I'll cover what those might look like in a moment. We have an incentive mechanism, typically using something like a kurtosis curve. A kurtosis curve is a machine learning model that allows you to heavily weight, for example, the top 10% of actors in a system, reward them aggressively, and drive the behavior of the lower group of people up into the upper end of that curve, so as it's constantly self-improving. There is 256 miner slots on a subnet. If you don't perform, you lose your slot, you lose your registration fee, which means that every miner is continually incentivized to perform the best and get to the upper end of that curve. Validators govern how weight is set. Every miner, based on their contribution, gets weight set. And this is all then stored through UMA consensus on the Bittensor blockchain and on the metagraph, so as it's all transparent and open to see. So at Massa, we focus on the second critical piece here, which is data. We have Subnet 42, which incentivizes miners to run our own decentralized data scraping network. We have a decentralized set of nodes that you can configure as a miner. You can configure it to be a Twitter scraper. You can configure it to be a web scraper, Discord, Telegram. You can do speech to text. All of this is live now. We have a crazy amount of developers building on it, and big enterprises as well. And our philosophy is that for decentralized AI to be truly successful, you need open, permissionless, decentralized data for training models, and as we call it, giving agents memory. So any model that you see today, particularly like GPT-01 from last week, will only have context up to a certain date. In order to increase the range or the depth of that knowledge, you have to feed additional data in, pre-training, RAG, so on and so forth. And this is just summarizing what I was saying. Again, sorry for this formatting on PowerPoint. We have Twitter data, Discord, so on and so forth. Miners contribute data, compute, and bandwidth into the Massa network. We also have some LLM nodes that do structuring and annotation. And this is used for things like system prompts, retrieval, augmented generation, giving agents memory, LLM training, and fine-tuning. The bottom two categories we don't see as much traction in today. RAG and agent use cases is really where we're seeing a lot of growth. And miners supply index data and do real-time requests. Validators secure the network, and we have well over 100 developers, plus some big Fortune 500 enterprises using our data. And right now, as an example, we have a capacity on one subnet, on subnet 42, around 256 million, checking the time, tweets per month. To give you some context of the value of this layer, if you were to pay Twitter to get this data, that would cost you $5,000 per million tweets. So for a pro account on Twitter's API right now, it's going to cost you $5K a month to get access to 1 million tweets. We make 256 million minimum free to anyone to use every month. So data is available indexed through Hugging Face. You can go onto Hugging Face today, get access to our data, or through our API for real-time requests and index requests as well. And most of our, I'm really bummed about these slides. The formatting did not come through. A lot of our main use cases we're seeing right now, I think this is really important, like actually seeing real use in decentralized AI right now is unusual. We're seeing somewhere in the region of 50 to 100 million requests a month going through the platform, all being used to build things like crypto KOL agents, an agent that will tell you what the top 50 KOLs are saying right now about certain coins, silly things like, or maybe DJing things like meme coin agents, political-based agents, but anything that rotates around a discourse that's happening in real, like, conversational dialogue in platforms like Twitter can spot trends, and more recently with the release of 01 last week, can reason with this data, which is really, really amazing. And this is just the RAG flow. You have a developer, you have your RAG engine, storing your data in a database. Data is requested from the Massa network down here, if you can see it, and then it gets cycled back through the retriever and goes into the LLM as part of a system prompt, giving your LLM memory and depth. And at Massa, we enable AI developers to build anything, anywhere with the world's data. We really believe that data should be open and available for all and a common good. And how can you participate? You can be a developer, come build on us. You can be a miner, come scrape data. And how right now on the subnet, you would earn around $50 a day running a Twitter worker, which is quite good. Adds up to about $1,500 a month for maybe $50 of overhead running compute and actually having a pro Twitter account. And you earn Tau and Massa emissions for doing that. And if you want to connect with me, this is how you can connect with me. So great to see everyone today. Hope you have a great conference this week.